This week, we tell you about a country's zeal to eradicate and fight terror from within. That's coming up shortly. Welcome to World of Africa with me, Erik Njoka. Now, the show starts from Southern Africa. Cholera has gripped Malawi for almost a year, with cases registered in all 29 districts and rising. By the 4th of this month, 704 people had already died and 21,000 cases had been registered, and that's according to official data. So what went wrong, and why is the virus still lurking in the country? Let's find out in this report from Malawi's capital.
This is Lilongwe. Healthcare workers are getting ready to put on personal protective equipment before entering cholera wards. The following announcement from the country's health ministry has sent everyone in panic mode.
We continue to record rising number of cases across the country. Despite signs of reduced transmission and deaths in a few years, we would like to commend those that are availing themselves for the treatment.
Malawi's health ministry ordered the closure of many businesses that lack safe water, toilets and hygienic refuse disposal facilities, and announced restrictions on the sale of pre-cooked food. Hotels and traveling is also restricted. It is that bad. Figures show that about 15 people have been dying daily in recent days, with 155 deaths recorded in the past 2 weeks. Nearly 1,000 people have been hospitalized. WHO Chief Tedros Ghebreyesus says 31 countries have reported cholera outbreaks since December, a 50% increase over previous years.
The outbreaks themselves are both more widespread and deadly than normal. While we have had large cholera outbreaks before, we have not seen such a large number of simultaneous outbreaks. The common denomination for many of these outbreaks is climate-related events such as storms, floods, and droughts.
Africa Center for Disease Control says that 14 African countries are reporting cholera cases, many of which are due to flooding across the continent. A significant proportion of the continent's 1.3 billion people lack access to safe water, sanitation, and good hygiene. Malawi, a country of about 20 million people, recorded 71% of cases and 88% of deaths. That's according to Africa CDC.
I
did not do the right thing. We ate food that was not properly prepared and protected. And at the end of it, all my actions have contaminated the whole household, which is not good at all. I think we all need to protect ourselves from this disease.
We received 2.9 million dosages of the cholera vaccine, but as we speak, we have about 40,000 left. It means Malawians avail themselves for the vaccine. What is worrying, however, is that those who receive the vaccine are not the ones at high risk. Who are more prone to risk are proving difficult to convince to take the vaccine.
Lilongwe and Blantyre City, an economic hub in the south of the country, are the most affected. Cholera is an acute diarrheal disease spread via contaminated water and food, which can cause severe dehydration. It is a bacterial disease that affects both children and adults. If left untreated, up to 30% of cholera cases can be fatal. And in extreme cases, the disease can kill within hours. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
The countdown to one of Africa's most vibrant political events has begun. Nigerians will head to the ballot on the 25th of February to choose their next head of state. Political campaigns used to be organized largely by the politicians, but in this election cycle, a lot has changed. All candidates are seeking to replace this man, Muhammadu Buhari, who is leaving office after 8 years after his election in 2015. 18 candidates are hoping to take over from Buhari. They include Bola Ahmed Tinubu, this man here, of the ruling All Progressives Congress, or the APC, He is one of the most popular aspirants in the country. People's Democratic Party candidate Atiku Abubakar, this man here, is a politician and businessman and served as a vice president of Nigeria from 1999 to 2007. And lastly, Labour Party candidate Peter Obi, this man here, who is also a businessman and politician and who has served as a governor. These three gentlemen are seen as the leading candidates in the contest. Here now is a report by Louisa Olaniyi from Lagos.
PDP has come to return further to the mainstream of Nigerian politics.
Analysts, electorates, and civil society organizations in Nigeria have expressed reservations over the domination of the political space by just two main parties. Nigeria at various times has followed this pattern of binary party options. NRC and SDP 1991 to 1992, PDP and APP 1999 to 2003, and APC and PDP 2014 till date. This year, the trend seems set to end. As the nation is witnessing the remarkable rise of a third force, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Gregory Obi. Analysts say it's something Nigerians have been yearning for. For a long time, the electorate has been left with few choices. Analysts say that the emergence of the third force reduces the complacency of the dominant parties.
The All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party, for a long period of time, it's been almost a contest between these two parties. But now we're seeing an emergence of the Labour Party because of the candidates of Peter Obi, which has brought the party to prominence, I would say. Why I said it's good for our democracy, like I said, it reduces tendency of complacency within this other two, because now it means people need to work hard for the votes of the voters.
Because there is need to break the barriers of the two established dominant political parties, the PDP and the APC. We have tested them, we have tried them, and we have seen that there's a group of people, just very few individuals who are in control or in firm charge of those two parties.
A nationwide poll conducted in December showed that Obi had taken a significant lead over his rivals. 23% of those polled said they would vote for Obi. Bola Tinubu of All Progressives Congress was in second place with 13%. Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party polled third with 10% public support. Rabiu Kwankwaso of the New Nigeria People's Party emerged as a distant fourth, with only 2% of voters saying they would vote for him. As the voting pattern and behavior of Nigerians is not easy to predict, the president and founder of the foundation that conducted the poll has also said, and we quote, "Mr. Peter Obi's 10% point lead at this stage is significant, but not sufficient to separate him from a leading pack of candidates scoring 13%, 10% and 2%.
In reality, the APC is the PDP and the PDP is the APC. If you even follow the Freudian slips of the presidential candidates of both the PDP and the APC, even their spouses, you would have found times when one was mistaking the party for the other party, because even amongst themselves, they know that there really aren't any differences between either of them. So the Nigerian who presumes to think that the Labour Party or the Obility movement, as it were, are in any way, shape, or form constituents or strands of a third force would be grossly mistaken.
While some voters have recognized the emergence of the Labour Party, there is focus on good leadership and a great country.
I think there is need for a change, I understand. We may say that is there need for a third party. Like, I want to speak for myself and for some of the people I've already interacted with. People are already tired of the situation of the country at the moment.
With the top four movements cutting across clear religious, ethnic and political lines, voters and party workers are once again reminded about the criteria for winning elections in Nigeria. 1/4 of the total vote cast and 2/3 majority of the 36 states of the Federation, including the FCT, are needed to win elections.
Although Nigeria operates a multi-party system, yet though it seems two major political parties dominate the scene at every election year. This year is no different, with the ruling All Progressives Party APC and the People's Democratic Party PDP. But with a twist, the Labour Party, which is now seen as a third force, gaining momentum by the day and has even enjoyed endorsement by the high and mighty. Will the results of the 2023 elections change the status quo, especially as online polls are swinging in favor of the third force? Only time will tell. From Lagos, Nigeria, Louisa Olaniyi, WION, World is One.
Somalia's government has announced a people's uprising as it seeks to pressure Al-Shabaab from all angles, including financial ones, in what is being called total war by the government of President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud. Many across the Horn of Africa nation are being encouraged to stand up to the Al-Shabaab extremists. Here now is a report from Mogadishu.
This rather uncommon scene is in Mogadishu. It's not a political rally, but a gathering. Supporters came from as far as the Galmudug region, where residents have experienced the horror of terror. Until the town was recently liberated from the armed group, hundreds who congregated at the stadium had borne the brunt of action by terrorist group Al-Shabaab.
At today's rally, us men, women came out to say loudly, we don't want our blood to be shed on the ground meaninglessly. We also want Al-Shabaab eradicated from the country after 15 years of trouble.
We tell our distinguished and fellow people that it is dependent on us to implement and follow the instructions our national leaders give us. We should also support the operations against Al-Shabaab that are going on in the country.
Mogadishu residents are gathering and protesting against Al-Shabaab, and you see that the people are ready to fight Al-Shabaab. It is an event to begin an uprising.
President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud was greeted by cheers from those who attended the rally. He vowed to crush terrorism and even called on ordinary people to help flush out members of the Al-Shabaab jihadist group that he described as bedbugs.
We will never accept extremist killing or robbing our people. We will protect them from Al-Shabaab. Anyone who does that, kill innocent people, will face trial or justice. Today, I want you to promise me that we work together on eradicating Al-Shabaab. Because they are bedbugs in our clothes. We must clean and eradicate them soon. Promise.
Al-Shabaab has been waging a bloody uprising against the internationally backed central government since 2007, carrying out attacks in Somalia and neighboring countries, which sent troops to help in the fight against the armed group. The American government went further to show support to the Somali government in fighting separatist forces late last year when the re-elected President Sheikh Mohamud was on a tour of the country.
So I was encouraged to hear of the Somali-led operations in August against Al-Shabaab after its July incursion into Ethiopian territory. Our cooperation here is crucial, Mr. President, and we stand ready as your partners.
Somalia's government and allied clan groups have forced Al-Shabaab from large swaths of territory since launching a major offensive last August, but the group has retaliated with a string of attacks, including bombings in Mogadishu. The rebels have frequently retaliated with bloody attacks, underlining their ability to strike at the heart of Somali towns and military installations despite the offensive. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
In South Africa, citizens are fed up. They are now mobilizing in their thousands and calling on various sectors for a national shutdown due to the ongoing blackouts. The government is in a tight spot and is scrambling to look for immediate solutions to the ongoing electricity crisis, or what they are terming load shedding. Our correspondent Kalden Ongmu has filed this report.
Imagine a day when you wake up and there is no electricity. You get back from work and still there is no electricity. You go to bed without electricity and then wake up to the same situation. Well, this is the life of South Africans currently. Eskom, the country's power utility, is battling to keep the lights on, and citizens are fed up. Various marches and protests are in the pipeline to demonstrate the frustrations.
We are here because we are fed up. Load shedding, or as some people call it blackouts, have been ongoing for so long, and currently, to add matters worse, the National Energy Regulator, NERSA, has now decided to increase the price of electricity by adding an extra 18%.
Currently, South Africa is facing stage 6 load shedding, meaning no electricity for 2 to 3 times a day for at least 4 hours at a time. Eskom has blamed high demand and urgent maintenance being performed at certain power stations. But this has been going on for a while now, and the country's main opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, thinks otherwise.
The DA, the Democratic Alliance, the official opposition, has put forward cogent suggestions to deal with this crisis. One of them is to declare a ring-set state of emergency around Eskom, overseen by an independent panel of experts who would then determine with competent staff what needs to be done, over what time frame, how much it will cost, and so on.
South Africa's energy crisis is not something new. The country has been facing this crisis for more than a decade. Aging old infrastructure, poor planning and corruption are some of the prominent reasons. But in the last few years, the problem has escalated. 2022 witnessed the worst blackout with more than 200 days of load shedding. The power cuts are a major source of public frustration with the governing African National Congress Party. The party is already losing supporters, and it is putting a brake on economic growth in Africa's most industrialized nation. Eskom has a nominal electricity generation capacity of roughly 46,000 megawatts. But more than 23,000 megawatts of that is offline because of breakdowns or planned repairs. Experts fear that if immediate measures are not taken, the country might be heading for even more severe troubles.
Eskom that currently is implementing several stages of what they term load shedding, which is rolling blackouts, whereby they lose anywhere or they cannot supply or meet the demand by the tune of anywhere between 6,000 and 7,000 megawatts. And once we get to 8,000 megawatts of shortfall, the grid of the country is going to collapse.
President Cyril Ramaphosa cancelled his trip to Davos for World Economic Forum to pay his attention to the existing energy crisis. According to the presidency, he is meeting with various stakeholders.
Time is ticking for the country's ruling party, the ANC, to sort out the mess that the country is in. Rolling blackouts and increased electricity tariff has agitated the citizens so much so that they are not willing to sit behind closed doors anymore. Citizens are speaking out and organizing protests, and this should be a stern warning for ANC. This is Kalden Ongmu from Johannesburg, South Africa, for WION World is One.
An estimated 8 million trees are cut down every year to make simple pencils. Now, a Kenyan-based company is turning used newspapers into pencils, cutting deforestation in the process. Here's a report from Athi River.
This factory in Kenya's Machakos County is writing history, literally. The Momo pencils came up with an effective way to reduce the number of trees cut down every year to make simple writing pencils. The company, headed by brothers Mahmoud Omari and Rashid Omari, sources its raw materials, in this case glue and old newspapers, locally.
82,000 trees that are cut every year to make pencils. We provide an alternative. We take the newspaper and then turn it into a viable product, which is a pencil, providing an option for those people to use instead of the wooden pencils.
Pencils are an important part of life. They're used for sketching, drawing, and in schools. The United Nations says some 8 million trees are cut down every year to make pencils, contributing to deforestation. Momo Pencils does the opposite. The process of making pencils starts with newspaper collection. The newspapers are cut into the right size, then graphite is glued to the pieces. The pieces of newspapers and graphite are then put into a roller, which rolls and compresses them into pencils. They're then left in the sun for 3 days to dry off. They're lastly put into a final compressor, sharpened and packaged.
We reduce the amount of trees cut down when we use recycled paper. Number 2, we reduce the amount of waste paper that is dumped or burnt. That way, green pencils made from recycled paper contributes also to addressing climate change.
Mahmoud says in the next 5 years, the company aims to ensure every child in Kenya will use their pencils.
What we want to do is to provide an option to be able to get into the market. We want each and every child in Kenya who goes to school to use our pencil and at the same time be able to plant a tree through our pencil. That way we'll reduce the number of trees cut. We'll also provide an option and reduce the number of wooden pencils in the market.
According to the UN, over 13 million hectares of forests are lost annually to deforestation, out of which 36% is for paper manufacturing and 42% is for manufacturing timber-based products. That constitutes about 18.2 billion pencils. So these brothers hope to champion their goal of turning yesterday's news to tomorrow's pencils. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
And that's a wrap on this episode on World of Africa. Thank you for your time and for watching. Find us on all our social media platforms and talk to us there. We appreciate feedback. I'm Erik Njoka. I will see you next week. Goodbye.